2. It's Saturday, August 1st, 2020, and this is episode 201 of the Torchcast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. We are continuing our saga into doing a live streaming video broadcast on Facebook Live. Later, it'll be posted on YouTube. So for those of you that are watching live, welcome to the Torchcast. You're probably watching the Giants game right now. In the future, we're not going to always be doing this during Giants games, but it's the only way we could squeeze this in this week, especially with the impending news we're going to talk about. But joining me as always from Las Vegas, man, he had a hell of a week in the poker rooms. Eric Nathanson, what's up, man?
Not much. I'm staying. That's why I have to play poker right now because it's 115 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense to hide indoors. And I will just say this: anybody who has heard this or seen this, I do wear a mask the entire time. Everybody I am with wears a mask, so please also wear a mask. I encourage you to wear a mask, even in 115 degree heat. Wear a mask. But I have to do it. So, I was forced into this life. There's nothing I can say but that, It's just the lot that I was handed.
Well, he's had a good week, and the Giants had an okay week. We're coming back to you a little bit sooner than we normally would. We try to record on Mondays, about a week apart, but I got some travel coming up, so we can't record for another week from now, so we thought we'd squeeze it in. But since we recorded on Tuesday night, the Giants have played 4 games where they split those games 2-2. They lost 2 of 3 to San Diego, but game 2 was freaking awesome. So they've had a couple of these games this week. One of them went well, one of them not so much. But down 6-2 in the 7th inning, Alex Dickerson, this was the night, Eric, and we were talking about this over text, and I think you were at the casinos that night. I think Willie caught it. But anyway, I was asked by my daughter to watch some TV, and I was like, it's 6-2. It's a 7th inning or 6th inning. Yeah, this game's over. Well, we had a solo shot by Dickerson in the 7th, a 2-run. That made it 6-3, and then with 2 out, 2 on, bottom of the 8th, we had Donovan Solano step up to the plate.
Try to tie it up.
High and deep to left. Did Solano tie it up? It is out of here.
It is out of here.
You can really hear that foghorn without
the Giants with a home run with people on base.
I love that satire there. Giants with a home run with people on base.
This sounds flabbergasted.
I might try to start showing some of these video highlights on Facebook Live, but I don't want to get hit for any copyright problems right now, so I'm going to hold off on that. That's okay. So anyway, that made it 6-6. And then going into the bottom of the 9th, we had probably the highlight of the year in this young season so far.
Matt Stram stays out, and he'll be facing Yastrzemski. High drive to right, headed to the water. It is out of here. And this game is over. I think he hits lefties pretty good.
Long drive, and you can forget about this one. Off into the night, headed for San Francisco Bay. This ball game is over, and Yastrzemski with a spectacular shot into the water. 7-6, the Giants have won it, and what an explosion that was.
Man, I miss those calls. It's great to hear those back again. Both of them do such a great job of that. So Mike Yastrzemski, who hit a home run earlier in the game and actually was just robbed of a splash hit by technicality, it actually glanced one of the water towers, one of the pillars. Otherwise, it would have had a clear path into the bay, but it bounced off a pillar, so he technically did not get a splash hit because he doesn't have one yet. But that one was a clean, majestic moonshot, almost a Barry Bonds type of home run. McCovey Cove Dave got it. In fact, he fell out of his kayak and got wet. But that was a great way to wrap up that game.
That was a Bonds moment. That was a stud moment.
It was.
And as Giants fans, we haven't had that for a long time. And, the way Mike Yastrzemski's been playing, he's a stud right now. The stroke, like the moment he hit it, you knew it was gone. It's almost like watching Bellinger hit sometimes. The same way they uncoil with their swing. And I mean, I can't recall seeing a Giants player hit a blast so majestic in such a crucial spot in so long. Because I mean, like even Ishii's barely got over the wall. This was a Barry Bonds home run. This was the moment he hit it, you knew it was wet.
Yeah. No, I was bummed to have missed it. Unfortunately, I was watching TV with my daughter, and then later I checked on the highlights and went, yay, I'm happy, but damn it, I missed that. Those are the moments you don't want to miss live. But yeah, no, Mike Yastrzemski, he's 30 years old. Look, he came to the majors late. He didn't even get called up until June of last year with the Giants, and he had a cup of tea with a cup of coffee with Baltimore and stuff before that. So, I mean, clearly they saw something in him, and he's really proven himself right now. Everybody was afraid of a sophomore slump, and so far into this young season, he's like fourth or fifth in the majors in batting average right now. So he's not doing bad whatsoever. He's definitely holding his own.
He was leading the majors in hits, and Willie's not with us today, and he already has his contribution for tonight's show. Is that he wonders if the season ends now, is Yaz the MVP? Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they get an MVP award for 7 games this year, but why the hell not? Yaz has done everything that you want from a guy. Like, they need to start seriously considering extending him. And I've heard that there are some rumblings that there's some internal talks about giving Yastrzemski an extension. Yastrzemski extension. That is not easy to say, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that's a lot of consonants in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 12 hits and 29 at-bats, hitting .414 right now. So the other guy that was played earlier in the highlight, Donovan Solano, he's also been hitting really well too. He's got 11 hits and 24 at-bats. That's .458. So if you remove Miguel Rojas from the Marlins, who apparently technically qualifies for batting average because the Marlins have only played 3 games, he's 7 for 10. Donovan Solano is actually leading the majors in batting average right now at .458. So you got 2 of the top, 4 or 5 guys in the league on the Giants. Granted, okay, everybody, 8 games. I know, pump the brakes, but it's a shortened season anyway. I mean, look at it this way: they're 8 games in. They're already almost 15%, 13% of the way through the season. It just started. So I mean, this is insane.
That is. That was so weird after 6 games, knowing, hey, a 10th of the season is over. Like, wait, what?
Yeah, how's that? Huh? It's whipping by. So I was fortunate enough to get credentials for the next night's game, which was on Thursday. That was the rubber game of the series between the Padres and the Giants. And, I was kind of wishing I had been there the previous night. That would have been pretty cool to see. But it was my first experience seeing the park the way it was during a real game. I was able to go to one of the summer camp scrimmages, but that was Giants on Giants, so it wasn't really kind of the full taste. But this, I got the full taste. I actually sat in front of the press box down in the walkway right behind the lower seats. They set up all these card tables with power strips and everything, so I kind of sat there, which I loved at first, but later in the night, because I didn't bring a jacket, I kind of regretted that decision as I started to get a little bit colder.
Too for you there?
They didn't have plug-in, but they had the Wi-Fi, which was totally fine.
Sufficient, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
especially because there's not thousands of people pulling on it.
Yeah, and so I was much closer by 20 feet or whatever to the field. But I will say that the crowd noise that they pump in was off-putting at first. But you know what? After the 3rd or 4th or 5th inning, it kind of sounded a little bit more natural, probably just because I became acclimated to it. And I kind of forgot about it. It was background noise. And then there'd be an occasion where I'd kind of go, that's fake crowd noise. That's right. I keep forgetting. It did kind of naturally blend in after a while. The cheering and all that stuff definitely is still very artificial after a base hit or a walk. It's kind of the same cheer from MLB The Show that they use. So you kind of, it's not very organic. I don't really care for that. Unfortunately for the Giants, the Padres had a good night. It wasn't good until the very end for the Padres. Right. But when they did well, the Padres, man, you could hear all of the players hooting and hollering and high-fiving and slapping. And it is such a different experience when you hear Major League Baseball players are the ones cheering in the stadium, not the fans. It was very odd. The crack of the bat, of course, the umpires, all that stuff. It's a much different experience. But the Giants fell down like they did the previous night. In fact, they fell down 6-1 at one point, and I was really worried that I was going to see a clunker of a game. But they just kept chipping away, and it really was boom, boom, boom before you knew it. It wasn't like that majestic 3-run home run. They just chipped, and it was suddenly 6-6. The Padres couldn't get anything going. And then I was thinking, all right, maybe I'm going to see another walk-off. Maybe it's going to happen tonight. Unfortunately, they didn't plate anything in the 9th inning. And then the 10th inning came up, which actually was kind of interesting. I wasn't pulling for the 10th inning. I'd rather see them walk it off in the 9th, like the previous night. But it was the Giants' first foray into the extra runner in extra innings. So it was very odd to see that Padres runner kind of run behind home plate, ran over to the third base coach, said a couple words, waited for the warm-ups to finish between the pitcher. I think, Tyler Rogers was on the mound. And then when everything was ready to go, and after they threw down to second, then he just jogs from third over to second, and that's where he starts. And it was just, I did not like it. I did not like it, Sam. I really did not care for it.
I was wondering what it looked like in person, seeing the runner go out there. Like, I wondered if they had to, like, have an umpire, like, point them there or something like that. Because this is weird.
It's a brave new world, right? So, I was curious because I was like, well, they throw down to second, all this stuff. And, they just chat with their third base coach until they're ready after the throwdown. And they go around the horn. Then they just jog out to second, and the inning starts. And that's it. Unfortunately, Tyler Rogers did not have a good inning. He did get squeezed on a couple of calls as far as I was concerned, especially against Machado. Who walked after that. And then just the wheels fell off. It was a horrific inning. The Padres ended up plating 6 runs in the inning. So clearly there was very little help for the Giants, and they scored the 1 run. Duggar was the leadoff runner at second. And the game ended up 12-7. But again, even though they lost that game, the Giants showed that moxie coming back from that 5-run deficit, just like the 4-run deficit the night before. So these are all good signs you can still take with a loss.
Yeah, they weren't doing this. The first couple of games against the Dodgers, when they got blown out early in the game, they just got blown out.
Yeah.
And now they have a lot of fight in them. There's some talent on this ball club, and that's just what's coming through. I mean, Donnie Barrels is just constantly hitting, and Yaz is getting on base constantly. I think he's out. And you got guys contributing all up and down. Dick, it's nice to see Dick isn't regressing after last year, when he came in and was a spark plug.
I hope he's not.
Well, I mean, you may have to. Yeah. I'm going to leave the Dick jokes alone.
Yeah, leave that alone.
Yeah, there's too many. But, I mean, everybody's contributing. It's not just those guys. And it's actually, I don't know if you're noticing it as well as I am, but it's like, it was nice to see Belt contributing. He walked a lot, although he's
3 times, I believe, that night.
Out. Yeah, He did 3 times. He struck out the first 2 times and then walked 3 straight times.
Yeah.
And so they really put it together themselves. And, I mean, they're scoring runs. And that's all we can ask for from the Giants. That's what gives them a chance. And Kapler totally screwed up by not only with the pitching change in the 10th inning of trying to take Rogers out, but he couldn't because the pitching coach had been out there. I mean, he screwed that part up. But his other screw up was sending Rogers out for the 10th inning in the first place. He should have just maybe thrown Gott out there, somebody who throws hard. Mix it back up again. Rogers doesn't need to be extended. I get that he trusts him, but he probably trusts him a lot less now after the way the Padres just kept hitting him in that 10th inning. I mean, I think he gave up like 5 straight hits to start the inning, and that was it.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and you're right. He kept him out in the 10th, and I was actually surprised to see that too. I looked back, and Kapler was right. He only had 11 pitches in the 9th. So, sometimes managers will ride the hot hand. I get it. But at the same time, like you just pointed out, maybe mix it up, have another guy like Gott who throws a little bit harder out there. They have plenty of bullets in the gun right now.
Right, and
they have a 30-man roster.
He only threw 11 pitches. Something changes when you go from the mound to the dugout back to the mound, especially as a reliever. You're trained to ramp up once. And I know Tyler Rogers' fastball is 84 miles an hour, so it's not like I'm talking about a guy that has to get totally lathered up. But things change. Your body shifts, and that's why it's not a bad idea to use a different pitcher. Not everybody is Yasmiro Petit.
Yeah, Petit, the one-man wonder who once retired 58 straight batters. That was insane.
MLB record.
Like that. MLB record. So anyway, that was kind of a poor taste in my mouth leaving the park, especially because it was 4 hours and 4 minutes. I mean, I didn't get out of there until 11 o'clock, and I had an hour and a half drive home, so I got home at 12:30. I was just like, ugh. But last night they opened up their series against the Texas Rangers, and they pretty much had a convincing 9-2 win. And it really was kind of highlighted by Wilmer Flores, who came up here in the bottom of the 5th with 2 on and 2 out.
Flores, it's a high fly ball to left. Chu is back at the wall, out of here. That's a 3-run home run.
Flores was pumped going around the bases too. They were down 2-1 at that point, and they took a 4-2 lead and never looked back and won 9-2. So,
but again, a 3-run homer, a home run with runners on base. I mean, you do those things, you're going to win games. And the Giants so far, I mean, we talked about it. You'll need to be 500 to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Why not?
There's another 2-out hit. I'm sure you appreciated that. So
every time.
So the Giants stand at 4-4 in the year. They're officially 2 games back of San Diego. But here's a big question, Eric. Are we even going to be playing baseball next week? Last week, because of the explosion of COVID-19 positive tests with the Marlins, which we talked about on Tuesday, at that time, there were 13 positives. Now we're up to 18 players and 23 personnel overall for the Marlins, and 4 Cardinals have tested positive. And so prior to the Cardinals and whatever, Manfred basically had a call with Tony Clark, president of the MLB Players Association, and basically said, and this is where it gets a little funky, right? Because it seemed like he was putting all the blame on the players. You know, when we know this is a big experiment, they're not in a bubble, and you're dealing with a lot of, they're not all multimillionaires, but they're all making good money, right? But a lot of them, they're young to mid-20s. They got a lot of testosterone. They think they're invincible. They think they can take on the world. And some of these players, without sufficient guidelines or restrictions or someone watching them like a babysitter, they're going to do what they want to do. And there are reports that some of the Marlins players went out clubbing. There's now reports that some of the Cardinals went out to a casino. So, you know, you got these things. They're breaking the guidelines. And so he warned Tony Clark, and he basically said, if you don't shape up and get your players to follow these guidelines, it's going to cancel the season. And as early as Monday. He's since not recanted, but he came out. Carl Ravitch had a tweet today, and he said, Commissioner Rob Manfred tells me, quote, we are playing. The players need to be better. But I am not a quitter in general, and there is no reason to quit now. We have had to be fluid, but it is manageable, end quote. So maybe baseball won't be canceled by Monday, but I'm telling you, Eric, we've got a whole, and Eric just jumped in my camera, so something happened.
The umpire just got taken out.
Oh, I'm a little behind on the game.
Yeah, you'll see it. The Giants totally just blew a rundown.
Oh, yeah, they had runner first and third. Okay, that's when you throw home. Now Heineman's got it. And, oh my God, oh!
Now you see why I reacted.
And he said safe. Well, we'll see if they challenge that. He did look safe to me.
Yeah, because he was safe. Oh, man. Oh!
Andrews is chuckling. Oh, he's laughing too. That's good.
Yeah, he is. He's totally fine.
Oh, what was Heineman doing, man?
I think that's Jim Reynolds. It
was close, but he looked like he just got in there.
It was just another example, though, of the bad defense the Giants have displayed, like sloppiness. It's really kind of frustrating because if you're going to hit 3-run bombs, man, you can't be blowing rundowns.
No, they've had a struggle with that. In fact, Rob Brantley, who was released by the Giants last week, also blew a very similar rundown. And now Heineman, in my judgment, in that one pass, I think he blew the rundown because he had the ball running Andrews back to third. Crawford was right there. He bypassed Crawford and then threw to, I don't know if it was Solano or Dubon that was behind, but it was way too late. It was way too late. Okay, anyway.
He didn't close the window far enough, right?
And, of course, by the way, there's 2 outs. That would have been the third out of the inning, and now they got 2 runners in scoring position, so we'll see if they get screwed by this. So anyway, the Giants, or the Major League Baseball, we don't know if they're going to be playing, because the main problem here is not just one team, because, of course, the Marlins games were all canceled this year. Oh, and yep, there we go. The blown rundown costs 2 runs. A 2-run, 2-out single. You knew that was going to happen, Eric.
Yeah, and you could see Todd Frazier look at the dugout and scream, yeah,
after
that, because, they know they got a break by getting another shot, and Frazier made, that's just, that hurts.
So it's he's the veteran, right? He knows what he's doing with the bat.
Right, he does. He knew he knew it was a gift from the baseball gods.
Yeah, just looped it over first, second base. That's all you need.
Yep. Yeah.
So there it goes. Something to show you how important fundamental defense is, because they don't get charged for an error on that one, I don't believe, because it was just the rundown. And so officially does get charged to the pitcher, and he's sitting there going, God damn it, that wasn't my fault. I mean, he gave up the hit, don't get me wrong, but so, all right, so Giants down 2-0 in the first. So anyway, point being, the Giants may or may not be playing baseball in a week, because the biggest problem is with this compressed 60-game schedule, this shortened season, You had a whole week of Marlins games canceled, a lot of Phillies games canceled, Braves games canceled, Brewers games canceled, now Cardinals games canceled. You have over 20 games that have been canceled overall. It's going to be very, very tough to make that up. And there's already been ideas floated around. One was already confirmed. They're going to play 7-inning doubleheaders to make up a lot of these games. Now, this is what I used to play in my amateur league, right? We'd have some Sundays where we would play one game, and it would be a 9-inning game. Most Sundays, we played a doubleheader, and they were 7-inning games. But this is amateur ball, and it was a long day. Major League Baseball, it's going to be a little weird seeing 7-inning games. It's odd, but it's one of the things they're trying to do to trim off 4 innings and get these games in. And number 2 is if they reach the end of the season, there might be a few teams, certainly the Marlins, that are going to be maybe at 50 games played or something like that. And if they can't make up all those games, they might actually go with winning percentage. And I'm not saying the Marlins are going to make the playoffs, but what if you do have a team that has 55, 56 games played, but their winning percentage qualifies them over someone else for like the last wild card spot or something? That's where it's going to get a little sticky. And we don't need to worry about it quite yet because we may not even get to that point. But man, you keep using the word crazy, Eric, and this season, or wacky. And this season is getting wackier and wackier by the day. This is just
not baseball anymore.
It's not baseball anymore. It feels like a video game. Or
it does. It's a lab experiment. It's like, what would we do with baseball if we could tinker with it without any ramifications? And this is the result we're getting. And I hate this 7-inning thing. I get it. Again, I get it. But like, is 4 innings really going to make that big of a difference? These are Major League Baseball players. Is 4 innings going to make that big of a difference? It's not like you're churning out 2 gates. So what's the point of doing 7 innings except just to get the season over with? And I think that adds to the feeling of they just want to get to the playoffs and get this season over with so they can have that playoff money. And it just doesn't feel right. You know, Rob Manfred saying, "I'm not a quitter." Like, dude, this ain't about you. You know,
no one's looking at you about this.
Right. Yeah. I don't care if you're a quitter. I just don't care. You know, you should be doing what's best for the game, and blaming players is not going to do that. There are obviously some clubs that have better protocols in place than other clubs, because you don't see this happening. I hate to say it, but with the Giants. I mean, who have we heard about with the Giants that's come down with it? I can't recall anybody. Can you?
Yeah, it was Hunter Bishop, but I mean, this is all before the season started.
That's right. Hunter still, yep.
Hunter Bishop came down with it. I could have sworn there was 1 or 2 personnel. But as far as players, there was the pitcher too. The young pitcher in summer camp. He also tested positive as well. I believe those are the only 2 players. And they weren't forecast to be on the 60-man anyway. So,
right. So nothing during the season, though. I mean, we talked.
No, nothing during the season.
Right. This is the time when stuff would start happening because teams are traveling. And, I mean, we have 5 canceled games today. That's not acceptable. I mean,
no.
I get that they felt like the bubble couldn't work. I'm worried that the season is going to get canceled. I'm loving having baseball back. I mean, it's so nice to have it every day.
It's so great to have it every day, but if it was just one team that was losing a bunch of games, you could say, all right, just kick the Marlins out. You know, they don't play anymore. We'll figure it out. But, yeah, you look at some of the standings, especially in the National League. You know, Miami's played only 3 games. Philadelphia's only played 3 games. St. Louis only 5 games. It goes on. It's just, and we have more today with the Brewers who've played 6, but they're going to miss a few here. So it's frustrating, and it's a big challenge to baseball. It's a very odd year, a wacky year. We never thought we'd see, well, maybe at some point, but we have the DH in the National League. We got all this interleague play. We have an imbalanced schedule, not playing. They're playing the AL West and not even the NL Central and the NL East, right? You got 60 games. You got expanded playoffs. Now you have 7-inning doubleheaders. I mean, what's next, man? Are they just going to be like, you know, a runner gets to start at third in the 3rd inning now or something? Or like,
well, that's the thing about this new rule.
Pitchers get to go from halfway to the plate. Like, what's going to happen next, you know?
It's not baseball. It just isn't. It's not baseball.
No.
The runner on second rule now starts in the 8th inning for those games, which is like...
Oh, you're right,
okay.
for the extra inning.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
How crazy is that? I just, like, it feels, and it's starting to feel like the lab experiment gone wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little too far.
Yeah, like there's certain boundaries you can push, but like I cannot stand this 7 inning thing. I get that they do it in the minors. You talked about you guys did it with amateur ball. It's totally different.
Totally different. Yep.
But this is the major league product. These are the best of the best in the world. I'm not happy with the way baseball's handled this at all. I think that's what this all comes back around to. Is just the handling of this in general. NBA has a bubble, no cases. NHL, I think, had 2 cases in their bubble. I mean, the NBA bubble is so good that the announcers are at the games, in the bubble. Like they did it
Yeah.
right. And I get all the logistical reasons. Everybody says you can't do it with baseball because there's more players, and I do get all that, but there has to be a better way than what MLB is doing right now.
So the other problems they're going to have with the scheduling, especially with the Marlins, who really botched this whole thing, and I don't know, I'm not smart enough to understand where the responsibility lies. I mean, ultimately it relies or it lays on the players themselves, right? I mean, they have to take responsibility for their own actions. But as far as the oversight, I don't know how much Don Mattingly and other coaches and staff were aware of where the players are going and what they were doing, and if anything was ever said to them. But as of right now, because they were stuck in Philadelphia this whole week, they're actually busing most of the positives back to Miami on a bus. They're not putting them on a plane. They're going to keep the other ones in Philly. And if they can resume play at some point next week, they eventually play in New York, right? Well, in New York, they could play against the Mets or whatever. If they were to bus or fly back down to Miami, the state of Florida has a mandatory 14-day quarantine if you come from New York. So how do you get around that? That is just a rule. It would be, to me, BS if they're like, well, we can't apply that to Major League Baseball. Because then you get a lot of people going, well, my business is critical to do business in Florida, and I can't quarantine for 14 days, but I got a multi-million-dollar deal I got to close, or I've got a life-saving thing to do, or I've got a fishing trip I need to go on with my son who has cancer. I mean, you get where I'm going. It's how can they bend some of these rules? And that's why I think there's just so many landmines to negotiate over the next few weeks. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. And they're looking at how to replace those 18 players, which is an unbelievable amount, by the way. And they're looking not only, of course, in their 60-player pool, which Manfred keeps saying, well, that's why we have 60 players. But it's like, yeah, but you're going to get freaking, double A and single A guys playing at the major league level. But they're also going to be looking at free agents and people who don't have contracts right now. But then that is such a patchwork thing. That's not real baseball. It's not competitive. A couple guys, sure. 18? I mean, it's more than half your roster. You could field 2 starting lineups with their COVID lineup. I mean, come on. That's crazy. Well, that's what they should do. They should put those 18 in a bubble and have them play each other because they have enough for a full team each.
It would be entertaining, I'll say that. They'll have to wear masks.
The COVID series.
And then they have to play for the cure. No, I'm just kidding. Who drives the COVID bus?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, the poor bus driver, right?
The person who drives it have COVID? I mean, do you put an ad on Craigslist seeking bus drivers who have already contracted COVID?
Yeah. Who has antibodies and drives a bus? Yeah, I don't know, man. This is just...
Can you believe what we're talking about? This is the most ridiculous stuff in the world. I got to tell you, the more we're talking, the more I think this season ends next week.
Yeah, unfortunately I do, because, Manfred and others were very proud, quote unquote, that the outbreak was limited to 13 players on the Marlins, and no personnel from any other team had tested positive. Well, now you got additional Marlins, and now you got 4 Cardinals. So, you see it, the shell's already cracking, whatever they're saying, like, oh, we're fine, we've limited it to 1 team, it's just 1 team, we'll work around it. Well, now it's 2 teams, and pretty soon, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 3 teams and 4 teams and 5 teams if they push this season much longer. And it's going to go away. And I hate it, Eric. I really, really was hoping... I mean, I was glad to see the Giants back at Oracle Park. I think that's great that they tried to play at their own stadiums, but I think you and I agreed in the beginning the safest thing to do was the bubbles in Arizona and Florida. You already had a messed up season anyway, so just play in the spring training stadiums and you can isolate them. And it will be, not that there's a pandemic every year, but this will be a lesson in the sense of if MLB gets canceled and you have the NBA that, just started, so we don't know what's going to happen, and the NHL that's just starting. But if those two are successful running the bubble and MLB's not, that's a pretty clear indication of, you got to go with the bubble. So, and that might affect the NFL, and I don't know how it will, but that'll be interesting.
That's what I've been trying to think about here. Is you talk about baseball rosters being big rosters, and it's harder to bubbleize that many people. Football rosters have a 53-man roster, just an active roster on game day. They have 60 to 65 players under contract at any time. That's how are you supposed to keep them and all their families and
way more personnel. Yeah. Way more personnel in the stadium.
I mean, I hope baseball can somehow figure this out. I hope, but it is concerning. It is very concerning.
Very concerning. All right, so this was going to be a short one. We just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about the last few days and kind of the future of baseball. But hey, for the first 8 games, I'm satisfied with the Giants' play, especially considering those first 2 games when they were outscored 17-2. I was suddenly thinking to myself, "Oh man, this might be a worse season than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah.
But it's they righted the ship and things are going in the right direction.
I'll tell you who jumped out at me. You were at the game when Gaussman started.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a great. Excuse me. He had a great game. His changeup is just, I'm in love with the Kevin Gaussman changeup. It falls off the table. These guys are swinging right over it. They don't see it. And he got dinked and dunked a little bit in the 4th inning, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And he had runners on base. And then he got all his crap together and just kept firing BBs right there through the zone. And he mowed everybody down and got out of the inning. And it was really impressive to see. And I think that's kind of what sparked them to come back, even though they eventually lost.
Right.
But, Gaussman really stuck out to me. And looking at the Giants at 4-4, they would make the playoffs as the 8th seed.
Oh, in this young season.
Yep.
The Marlins would be the number 1 seed. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably.
We got some good things going for the Giants. 2-out hit. That's going to tie the game. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Thanks for bringing that up. Same with Brandon Belt. The game that I attended was their first game of the year. They were pulled off the IL, so I know they didn't do much, but that's nice to see their Belt with another 2-out walk, and then Longo following it up with a 2 RBI.
Longo's swing has looked good so far. I haven't watched every game full, but I've watched, I've come back and watched and zoomed through a lot of, stuff that I've missed. Longo's swing looks pretty good. I'll tell you what, Crawford's swing, I don't know if it's ever going to come around. And Pence is finally hitting the ball hard again.
Yeah, but he is sitting at 0 for 21 though, correct?
Is that what it is? Oh my God.
He's 0 for 21. So,
my camera went down. What the hell?
Hey, look, everybody. Yeah, I think your camera went down. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hunter Pence, you don't want to see him struggle. He's such a great guy, and he's on a 1-year contract. So, and he's 36 years old. So if he doesn't start producing in this short season, he's going to dig himself a hole he cannot get out of. Kapler already said that. It was a funny quote, by the way. I don't have it in front of me, but it was actually really damn funny. About Hunter Pence, but basically, paraphrasing, he said he's going to stick with the guy. He's done so much in his career, and he was an all-star last year, that why would he suddenly lose trust in him? He doesn't just suddenly, shit the bed, pardon my French, that soon. He was working hard in the offseason, and, even the best of players can start cold like this, so I think you just got to give him a chance. But again, if he starts pulling an 0 for 30, a 1 for 40, a 3 for 50, you're going to be halfway through the season. With a few base hits, that's not going to work very well.
And it's just not going to make him feel well either. Being such an emotional leader, we've talked about it. You wonder if those emotions. I don't know what happened to my camera, so whatever.
That's all right. We're almost done.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, forget it. But he, as an emotional player, you hope it doesn't get him down too much.
Yeah.
I can see him and Kapler getting along really well on a personal level as it is. So I can see how Kapler is going to stick with him. He's his man. He's his guy. I think at this point,
And he's in the post game Zoom last night, Kapler enjoyed a glass of whiskey while he talked to the reporters. So that was kind of.
Wow.
I don't know. I kind of like that. He's growing on me a little bit, I got to admit.
I agree. I didn't even know he drank whiskey.
Yeah. He just sat there, just casually sipped whiskey while he was answering questions. People are like, is that whiskey?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, look, Boch was one to imbibe. Not during the post-game pressers, of course, but right after. In fact, after we'd go interview the players, I'd walk by his office and sometimes peek in there and catch him with a glass of wine or a beer or whiskey with, one of the coaches or ownership, just obviously shooting the shit and catching up. So they definitely have their post-game aperitifs, shall we say. So that was good to see.
So you're going to be traveling this week. So we're hoping that baseball is going to still be around when Chad is back next week from his travels, and maybe we'll have more Giants to talk about. I mean, this team is exciting. Look at this first inning. It's already a 2-2 ball game after one inning.
Yep.
And we may have some fun things to talk about. Kapler, I really, like you said, he's growing on me. He totally owned his mistake the other night with the pitching change, and he said, and today's a new day. I'll learn from it, and we'll move on. While he's getting criticized by people, he's just growing, and he doesn't care, and I kind of dig that too. So hopefully we will have some baseball to talk about next week. The Giants' upcoming schedule right now is they play Texas today and tomorrow, and then they travel to Colorado for 4 starting on Monday, and then they're back at Dodger Stadium next weekend for 3.
Yeah, we called it 7 out of their first 12 games in Dodger Stadium. That's pretty rough, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I fully expect us, if the baseball season continues, we'll be recording, to be honest, we'll be recording probably next Monday, no matter what, unless something changes. And we'll let you know. We'll continue to go live. That will be just after the Dodger series, so hopefully they have a winning week. All right, well, that'll do it for episode 201. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast on Twitter, like us on Facebook there as well. Individually, you can like us or follow us at ChadK21, at 2OutHits for Eric, that's with the number 2. Willie, who couldn't make it tonight, he's going to be on and off probably throughout this year, at Willie Dills. And then check out our website, torturecast.com. Please like us on Facebook. We're going to start doing these live Facebook events pretty much every episode. Hopefully the baseball doesn't get canceled, where we're just going to have a big sad trombone to try and put out this effort. And we have some exciting partnerships that are still in development we can't release yet, but we'll let you know about them soon. So, Eric, you got anything else, any poker wisdom to impart on our listeners?
Yeah, be patient.
Know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Be patient and be aggressive. I don't know how to say that and explain it in 5 seconds. So, no.
Yeah.
Wear a mask. Everybody just wear a mask. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm on that train. I hope all our listeners are doing what they can. Our listeners overseas that are in countries that have handled this well, screw you, but thank you. I wish that we had whatever it is you have.
For sure.
But
it's been frustrating
wear
over
a
here.
mask. These are uncertain times, and if we all want things to keep running in any shape or form, including baseball, these baseball players need to continue to do it. We just need to do it as people too. So wear a mask. That's going to be until this pandemic is over, that's going to be my drum.
It's going to be it. Wear a mask. All right, everyone, we'll see you next week for episode 202. Be safe, and we'll see you then. A boom. Yay.